Hey everybody, happy Sunday. I haven't made a video in a while, and so I figured I would go live from my garage and tell you what's going on with our bees, because I'm in my second year of beekeeping now, loving it. I highly recommend it to anybody who's ever had an inkling about it, and if you want to get started with beekeeping, I'm certainly no expert, and I don't even know that you can be considered an expert even after 5 or 10 years, but I'm always willing to help anybody. So if you ever have desired to keep bees or provide a sanctuary for bees in your backyard or on a farm or whatever, just let me know and we can chat more. But I wanted to tell you what's been going on in our bee yard. So we came into 2019 and our bees overwintered really well. I went in with 2 hives and they survived, which I hear is a feat, because just there's so many unknowns that can happen. A frost, bees could start flying, and it could start raining or I guess snowing in parts of the country, and you just don't know. They're kind of unpredictable. Some things they're very predictable with, but sometimes some things they're not. And so the fact that we overwintered with our bees was great. And then if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that at the end of February, when I was in Florida, my biggest hive swarmed super early. This is the time when bees really are swarming, in the March-April time frame. And we had a really huge swarm. And if you didn't see that swarm, I posted a video of it. If you go to my album, Alex's Adventures in Beekeeping, you'll see a gigantic swarm that looks like a black dress hanging from a tree branch. It landed in my neighbor's yard. We caught it, we rehived it. It's doing okay, but that's what I want to talk about today, is that sometimes things don't go perfectly according to plan. My hives last year just took off, even though I started them a little late in the spring. They were doing great. We got honey off of them. We left them with lots of honey for the winter, which is really important when you're a beekeeper, that you do leave them with their own stores for the winter, because they make that honey for themselves first, not for us. And so now it's May, and I'm finding that I had to make a purchase of bees. And so if you have been watching since the beginning of this video, you would have seen my package of bees, but I'm going to see if I can hold this up here and let you see. Can you see this? This is a 3-pound, and I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see it a little bit better. This is a 3-pound package of bees. And they're in a screen box. And right in the center, and you can't see, there is a feeder can right here for them to eat while they're in transit. These bees were shipped up from Georgia. And the queen is inside of a box. Oh, there, you can see the can. The queen is inside of a box in there. And so these bees are actually going to be hived tomorrow. So in the meantime, we spray them with a little bit of sugar water. And what happens is they will actually lick that off themselves, and it will keep them sustained for, you could actually do this for a couple of days, but they're going to go into a hive tomorrow. So this is because we had the equivalent of about 8 hives about a month ago. And just through a series of things that happen in nature, some of our hives died off. 2 of them died off because they were just very small hives and they were overtaken by pests. There's 2 pests to the honeybees that are very common around here. One is the small hive beetle and one is a wax moth. And what happens is the larvae get in there and they get into the bee's brood and they uncap it and they lay their eggs, and then larvae come out and then they poop in the honey and they ferment it. I have a bee flying around me right now. This is kind of funny. I'm sitting in my garage and I'm not near my hives, but there's a bee flying around me, probably because I'm sitting beside a package of bees. So I'm going to move a little bit while this little worker bee tries to figure out what's going on in my garage. So that happens sometimes. Bees have enemies, and they have, I wouldn't say predators, but they have these pests that can kill them. And so it's always good if you're going to keep bees, either just as an environmental boost or because you want to get honey, that you have more than 1 hive, because this happens. They kind of die off. And so we found a couple of our hives dying off or absconding. We had one hive just up and leave one day. I went out to check on them, and there was only a few bees inside that were robbing out the leftover honey. And so these things happen sometimes. And as a second-year beekeeper, I have heard just from reading online and stuff that a lot of people give up at that point when they start to lose hives, because it can be discouraging because you do work really hard to take care of your bees, and then what happens? They leave, or they die, or a pest gets to them. But right about now, commercial apiaries that actually raise bees for sale, they start to shut down production of these packages of bees. And so I thought, well, before the season ends, I'm gonna get 2 more packages in. I've never ever bought a package of bees before. This is new to me. It's Bike Week in Myrtle Beach, so you might hear some bikers going by. And so this is a very new thing to me. So I'm gonna install this tomorrow, and I'm gonna show it to you. But I wanna show you something else cool that happened. So I ordered these bees from a company called Barnyard Bees, and I follow them on YouTube, and they have great videos and tutorials. And so I ordered these bees from them, and on the weekend, or on Friday, I got called to go pick up my bees at the post office, because understandably letter carriers don't want to carry around 3 pounds of bees in their truck. Plus it gets hot and it's not good for the bees. Well, I went to pick up my bees on Thursday, expecting to see this box that I just showed you, and that's probably 8,000 to 10,000 bees in there. And instead, I had this box. So this is a queen cage, and I'm gonna flip the camera. I'm gonna see if we can get you to see the queen. It might be a little difficult. So this is a queen cage. Let's see if we can get some sunlight here. Let's see, we've got some shadows. Okay, there we go. I think that's better. So inside this box, I'm gonna see if she'll show herself, is a queen bee. And she has a green dot. Oh, you can see her, she's the longest bee in there, but she's got a green dot on her shield, which is right behind her head, and she's not showing it, but that's her right across, horizontally across the screen there. And she is the one responsible for ruling all of the direction in the hive. And she has some attendants in there, and they're just regular worker bees. And the reason that they are in there is because she cannot groom herself, she can't feed herself. There's really nothing that she can do except send out, oh, you see a little bit of the green there, except send out her queen pheromones. There she is. You see her a little bit there? I know the quality of Facebook videos is not always great. So anyhow, they sent me this queen and her attendants. So of course, I'm thinking, well, what do I do with this queen? Queen bees are very expensive. They're usually around $50 if you buy them. I've never had to buy a queen before. I'm gonna put her back here out of the way of the front of the garage, because we don't want her pheromones attracting any other bees in the area, like the bees in my backyard. So we're gonna put her down over there. And so queens are expensive, but people do requeen their hives every year for genetics. You always know the health of a hive is based on the queen. So if you have a healthy, thriving hive that is able to take care of lots of eggs, make lots of honey, keep the pests at bay, that's usually based on the genetics of the queen. And so some beekeepers requeen their hive every year. I don't know that I'm going to do that, because I don't want to also kill a queen. Because if she's laying for me and producing and performing, then there's no need to do that. She does seem lazy. I know Dawn. That's just her role. But the hive will collapse without her, so she serves a purpose. Anyhow, so what we found out is we have a hive where the queen in it is not really laying eggs, and that's what she should be doing right now. And so I don't know if she's old or sick, but we're going to requeen that hive with this new queen that we have, and then we are going to hive this new package of bees. This is one of 2 that's arriving this week, and I'll show you them again. So again, this is a 3-pound package of bees. There are 8,000 to 10,000 bees in here, and a queen who is in a cage just like that wooden one I just showed you, but she's in here and she's actually attached to the feeder. There's a silver cannon there that's feeding them. And I'm going to we're going to increase the size of our apiary by doing that. And for those of you asking, yes, I will have honey. I actually have some honey now for purchase, but I will have honey as well later in the season. And I have some really fun announcements coming for my honey and my elderberry products. So stay tuned for that. Dawn asked, are you going to kill the old queen? No. So this is what we're going to do with the old queen. We are going to take the old queen and we're going to take a frame of eggs and some nurse bees. And nurse bees are bees that stay in the hive, that don't go out and forage for honey. And all they do is take care of the eggs and the larvae. And we're going to put them into a tiny little box called a nuke box. And actually, I'm going to walk over to my garage. I'm going to my backyard, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we're going to put it's like a little baby mini hive. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that queen and some attendants and some nurse bees into a nuke box, and we're just going to let them stay in a cute little hive, kind of like a retirement home. We're going to retire her. We're not really going to expect much out of that hive, but we're just going to keep her in reserve. And this way, if we need her to use her later down the road, we can. And actually, I'm going to show you all the activity going on over here. So one of the hives that didn't make it, we had to take it apart. So this is this is the snack bar in my backyard right now. We had some frames of honey that the small hive beetles and the larvae got to. And so we're just letting these bees come and just pick them out. And you can see there's actually a bumblebee. These bumblebees love my backyard now. You see that big old bumblebee? Oh, there she goes. So we're just letting them pick out that stuff. And I'm going to show you what's going on, what a little nuke box is. And so sometimes people will order bees and they'll get a package of bees, like I just showed you, which is just bees, or they'll get a nuke. And so what a nuke is, it's a tiny little baby. There's actually a bee flying around because there's honey in there and they can smell it, but they can't get to it. So this is a tiny little 5-frame nuke. And this, I've been painting and gardening, and so these bees are trying to get in there because they can smell honey in there. But this only holds 5 frames. So it's a tiny little retirement home. It's also a great little starter hive. And so that's what that is. And so if we come over here, and you can see this hive is like a granddaddy. This has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes on it. And that's one of my very thriving hives. But this is the one, they've got lots of honey, but they don't really have a lot of eggs. And the worker bees only live about 6 weeks in the summertime. So it's really important that the queen is constantly laying eggs, constantly creating new workers, because they die off. They'll do up to 10 trips a day to collect nectar, and that's just really hard on their little bee bodies. And so they die off pretty quickly. So we need a queen that's constantly laying for the survival of the hive. So we're gonna take that big hive that I just showed you, we're gonna take the queen out of that, and we're gonna put her in that little white retirement box and just let her live out her days in there and do what she needs to do. And then we're gonna put our brand new queen into that big hive, and then this one is going to start life in its new home tomorrow. So for today, we're just keeping it in the garage to keep it warm, but not too warm, spraying it with a little bit of sugar water to keep them nourished. We're going to hive it tomorrow. So there you go, a little bit of honeybee education for you. And like I said, if you ever want to know more, if you're ever interested in getting bees but don't know where to start, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. And I hope you guys have a great Sunday.